Welcome to the deep dive. So you're standing at a bit of a crossroads. You've decided to get serious about photography, you're jumping into the mirrorless world, you've settled on Canon, and now you're staring at two cameras made for you, the Canon R50 and the Canon R100. Our mission today is pretty simple. We want to cut through the noise and find the real definitive differences between these two. What does that price gap actually buy you? We're going to figure out which one is the smart long-term investment for your growth and which one is, just enough to get your foot in the door. Both came out in 2023. The R50 was pitched as the feature-packed entry point, and then the R100 came in as the absolute cheapest way to get into Canon's RF mount. But before we even touch a single spec, there's one massive essential fact we have to get on the table first.
And it really is the great equalizer here. Both the R50 and the R100, they're built around the exact same core. It's an identical 24-megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. The imaging engine is the same.
Okay, so hold on. We're not actually talking about a difference in the fundamental image quality itself.
Not at all. I mean, the resolution, Canon's color science, which everyone loves, the dynamic range, how it performs in low light, it's all fundamentally equivalent. If you put these two cameras on tripods side by side in perfect light, the final images should be, well, pretty much indistinguishable. So the decision isn't about which camera takes a prettier picture. It's about which tool makes it easier or faster to get that same quality picture, especially when the light gets bad or your subject starts moving.
Right. Okay, so let's start with the most obvious difference then.
Yeah.
The price. The R100 is sitting at, around $399, a fantastic entry point.
It is. Very aggressive pricing.
But the R50 jumps all the way up to $679. That's a $280 difference, which is almost a 70% price premium. So for someone listening who's thinking, I just want good photos, why pay almost double?
Yeah.
What's the very first thing that extra money is buying them?
Performance. Just raw performance. Speed and power. Let's look at continuous shooting first. The R100 gives you 6.5 frames per second, and that's adequate, for kids playing in the yard or a slow-moving pet. The R50, though, it jumps to 12 frames a second with the mechanical shutter and all the way up to 15 with the electronic shutter.
15.
That's more than double the burst rate. It's about 131% faster.
Okay, but 15 frames per second sounds... isn't that a little bit of overkill for a beginner? You're just going to fill up your memory card, right?
That's a fair point, but you're not really paying for the speed itself. You're paying for the success rate.
The success rate.
Yeah, imagine you're trying to get that one perfect shot. A dog catching a frisbee midair, right? That peak moment. The difference between 6 chances and 15 chances in that 1 second is often the difference between a good shot and the great shot, the one you print.
Ah, okay. So it's about minimizing the chance you'll miss the decisive moment.
Exactly. And it's not just burst rate. The R50 has double the max shutter speed, 18,000th of a second versus 14,000th on the R100.
Which matters on a super bright, sunny day.
Right. If you're outside with the fast lens and you want that blurry background, that 18,000th lets you do it without overexposing the shot.
Okay, so speed is the first big-ticket item. Let's talk about intelligence, the camera's brain. How different is the autofocus?
Oh, it's a generational leap. It really is. They both use Canon's dual-pixel AF, so they're both fast at a basic level. But the R100 has 143 autofocus points. The R50, 651.
Wow, that's a 355% increase.
It is, but the number isn't even the main story. The intelligence is. The R50 has AI subject recognition that the R100 just doesn't have. The R100 is competent. You tell it where to focus. It tracks a human face pretty well. But the R50 is smart. It understands what it's seeing.
Okay, give me a real-world scenario where that smart AF completely saves the shot.
Easy. Pets and wildlife. The R50 has animal eye AF tracking.
Animal eye AF?
Yes. If you've ever tried to photograph a black dog running towards you, you know the camera wants to focus on its nose or just loses it completely. The R50 identifies that it's an animal, finds the eye, and just locks on. It will not let go, even if the animal is moving erratically.
That is a total game changer. I have to think a huge number of people buying their first camera want to take sharp pictures of their dog or cat.
It's probably one of the top reasons. And the R100 just can't do that. Not on that level.
And there's more, right?
Yeah, the R50 also adds vehicle tracking for cars, bikes, motorcycles. So if you ever go to a local racetrack or just want to capture action, it's there. And then there's low light. The R50's native ISO goes up to 32,000. The R100 stops at 12,800.
So that's 150% higher sensitivity.
Yeah.
But how usable is an image at 32,000 ISO? Isn't that just a noisy, grainy mess?
Well, you're trading one problem for another. In a really dim room, like an indoor party, the R100 runs out of light. It forces you to use a slow shutter speed.
Which means motion blur if anything moves.
Exactly, a clean but blurry image, which is useless. The R50 gives you the headroom to push the ISO up and use a faster shutter speed. You can freeze the action. Yes, the image might have a bit more grain, but for most people, a sharp, slightly noisy photo is way better than a clean, blurry one.
That is a great way to put it. So if you're shooting action indoors or at night, it's the R50, hands down.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to maybe the most visible, most tangible difference between them, the screen.
Right. The R100 has a pretty traditional fixed 3-inch LCD screen. It's fine. 1 million dots. But it doesn't move. And crucially, it is not a touchscreen.
And that one detail, that non-touchscreen, it throws the camera back about 5 years in usability. You're navigating every menu with little buttons and a directional pad. For anyone used to a smartphone, it feels incredibly clunky. But the real pain is that it's fixed. You want that cool low-angle shot of a flower. You were literally lying down on the ground to see the screen.
Or you're just pointing the camera and hoping for the best.
You're guessing, exactly.
The R50, on the other hand, it solves all of that with a fully articulating touchscreen. And it's a better screen, too.
It is. 1.62 million dots, so it's 55% sharper. But the articulation, the movement, that's the capability multiplier. It flips out to the side, it rotates, it faces all the way forward for selfies or vlogging.
The impact of that is just flexibility and speed.
Total flexibility. You can shoot from any weird angle and see exactly what you're doing. And speed, because you just tap the screen focus, tap to shoot, swipe through your photos. For anyone who wants to get creative with their angles or who is even remotely serious about making video content, that screen is just, it's non-negotiable.
Okay, so the R50 is faster, it's smarter with stills. Does all that intelligence, that animal AF and vehicle AF, does that carry over into its video performance?
It does, and this is where the gap between them becomes less of a gap and more of a chasm. It's huge. They both shoot 4K. They both have a microphone port, which is great. But the R100 has a critical flaw for any serious video work. It has a 30-minute maximum recording limit per clip.
30 minutes. So if you're filming a school play or a long interview or even just a kid's soccer game, the camera just stops.
It just stops. You have to notice and press record again, leaving a gap in your footage. It's a fundamental workflow killer. So if video is anything more to you than just short, casual clips, the R100 is really limited to being a hobbyist tool. The R50, it has unlimited recording time.
Which is an essential feature for any kind of event or professional work.
It's the baseline. And there's more. The R50 records at a higher bit rate, 170 megabits per second, versus the R100's 120.
That's 42% more data. What does that mean for the average person?
It means more flexibility in editing. If you want to do any kind of serious color grading or adjust the exposure in post, that extra data gives you more room to push the image around before it starts to fall apart and show artifacts.
Got it.
And the R50 also adds these really clever features that show it was designed for a content creator's workflow, like lens breathing correction.
What's that?
It's an electronic fix for a subtle optical problem where some lenses seem to zoom in or out just a tiny bit as you change focus. The R50 corrects for that, so your focus pulls look incredibly smooth and professional.
That's a subtle thing, but it sounds like it makes a huge difference in the final look.
It does. And then there's the product showcase mode. This is brilliant. It's made for reviewers. You can be talking to the camera, and when you hold a product up, the focus just snaps from your eye to the product instantly. Then when you lower it, it snaps right back to your face. It automates what is normally a very frustrating process for beginners.
Okay, that mode plus the articulating screen. Canon was clearly designing the R50 as a dedicated YouTuber vlogging tool. The R100 is just not in the same league.
Not even close.
All right, let's switch gears to more advanced technical still photography, like macro shots or product photography. You need everything sharp from front to back.
This is another area where the R50's extra processing power just shines. It's the only one of the two that offers in-camera focus stacking.
Explain what that is.
So for any shot where you need a huge depth of field, like a close-up of an insect or a big landscape, the R50 can automatically take a whole series of pictures, moving the focus a tiny bit each time, and then it merges them all together inside the camera to create one single image that's perfectly sharp from the closest point to the farthest point.
Wow. That's a process that normally takes, it takes hours in Photoshop or other complicated software for a beginner to learn.
It's a huge technical hurdle, and it's essential for macro. If you buy a macro lens for an R100, you'll quickly find out your depth of field is paper thin. You can't get the whole subject sharp. The R100 makes you learn that complex external workflow. The R50 just does it for you. It removes a massive barrier.
That's incredible.
And we should also mention exposure bracketing. The R50 can bracket up to a 5 EV, which is much wider than the R100's INF2 EV.
Meaning for HDR photos, high dynamic range, it's going to produce a much better result.
Far better. For those really contrasty scenes, like shooting an interior with a bright window, the R50 captures a much wider range of light to work with.
Okay, we spent a lot of time on what the R50 has. Let's pull back. What limitations do they both share? Because they are both entry-level cameras.
That's a great point. They both use the modern RF lens mount, which is fantastic for future upgrades. But neither the R50 nor the R100 have two key features you see on more mid-range cameras. No weather sealing, and no in-body image stabilization, or IBIS.
So if you're an adventure type who shoots in the rain or dusty conditions, these are not for you.
Definitely not. And the lack of IBIS means if you're shooting handheld in really low light, you're relying entirely on a stabilized lens or cranking up that ISO. The camera body itself isn't helping stabilize the shot.
Okay, so let's put it all together. Let's build the profile. Who is the ideal R100 owner?
The R100 owner is someone whose budget is absolutely locked at $400, no exceptions. And their needs are simple. They want a big upgrade from their phone for family pictures, vacations, simple snapshots. They value simplicity and saving money above all else.
And the R50 owner?
The R50 owner is someone who is already thinking ahead. They're thinking about starting a YouTube channel. They're really serious about getting great photos of their pets or their kids' soccer game. They know they want to experiment with different types of photography.
So to recap, for action, you need the R50 for the speed. For vlogging or content creation, the R50 is mandatory because of the screen and unlimited video.
And for specialized subjects like pets or macro, the R50 is transformative because of the animal eye AF and the focus stacking.
Let's talk about the long-term value. That $280 you save with the R100 is really tempting. But what happens if I buy it and in a year I realize I really need that articulating screen or the animal AF? What's the true cost of that saving?
This is probably the most important thing for you to consider. That initial $280 saving is almost always a false economy if you think you're going to grow at all. Well, you buy the R100 for $399, you outgrow it, you try to sell it used, and maybe you get $250 for it. So you've already lost $150. Then you have to upgrade. And you'll probably want a body that's even better than the R50, maybe one with IBIS. That could be the $1,000 camera. Your total spending over 2 years is suddenly $1,150. If you had just started with the R50 at $679, you'd have saved hundreds of dollars and had the right tool the whole time.
So the R50 is the better long-term investment. It future-proofs you. You pay that premium up front to avoid a much bigger cost down the road.
That's our recommendation generally. For most people who are serious about learning and can stretch that budget to $679, just get the R50. It's not going to hold you back. The features it adds, the smart AF, the screen, the speed, you'll use them constantly. The R100 is a great image maker, but it's a very static tool.
It's about buying the tool for the photographer you want to become, not just the one you are today.
Precisely. And let me leave you with a final thought on this, something that might make the choice crystal clear. The R50 gives you 150% more light sensitivity with its higher native ISO. That's a huge amount of extra flexibility. So ask yourself this. When you're in your most challenging shooting situation, a dimly lit living room on Christmas morning, a night market on vacation, which constraint is going to frustrate you more? The immediate constraint on your budget today, or the creative constraint of not being able to get a sharp photo because your camera literally ran out of light? Answering that question will probably tell you exactly which camera you should buy.